good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to Raising Excellence, the most important 90 minutes of your day. I'm Michael, the MC and Opportunity Ambassador for today's show. And today's show is another in the series of the Artistry of Loving Relationships. Today, when the going gets tough. We got a special guest with us too. But before we get to her, let's talk to my co-host, Agnieszka, our psychosomatic illuminator. Awesome. And Willow, our trauma consultant.
Hi, everyone. So yeah, today is my guest, one of my oldest friends, one of the best friends that I've had, to be honest. Let's see, how many years have we known each other, Sam?
At least 2011, I think.
Yeah, so almost 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is Sam Allier. And since today we were talking about when the going gets tough, I brought on one of my oldest long distance friends because we've been through a bunch of shit together. So I guess I'll get this started. One of the biggest compelling factors about me bringing Sam on, which, sorry, I'll have to preface this. My real name, I go by Sam. So we knew each other when we first met. We knew each other as the Sams. And so if you hear people referring to me as Sam today, that is why. But Sam and I's relationship taught me the basics for what I know of what it's like to be friends with other women. And I didn't have a good relationship with other girls or women when I was about 20. I didn't really have good friends. We always ended up backstabbing each other. No one could really communicate correctly. We were always trying to change each other's opinions and change each other's behavior. And the tactics that we used were not always the healthiest. And then when I met Sam, it was a completely different ballgame because none of that shit happened. So
where did you first meet? I guess
so
maybe
we met.
should start there, huh?
We met in South Korea at a bus stop. I was picking up a friend's kids because I babysat a lot. And it's actually part of the reason I met Sam was because she realized I was a babysitter and wanted to employ my services. Well, we had a mutual friend who was throwing a boudoir photo shoot for the army wives to give their husbands lingerie photo shoots for Christmas. And of course, I was stoked about that. All I see is this girl from Wisconsin. I thought she was batshit crazy because she was wearing a hoodie and shorts in like, what was it, -20 degrees? Like it was snowing outside. And this girl just comes running out and grabs her kid. I was like, who are you? And she was like, oh, my name's Sam. I'm Sam I Am on Facebook. I was like, my name is Sam. We have to be friends. And then we became friends. We actually went to the boudoir photo shoot, and I thought it was awesome because I didn't know I had. Did you want to say something?
I was gonna say we became friends while half naked.
Yes. Especially because we're, a bunch of girls all changing into like lingerie, and we had a makeup artist who was hosting and doing all this stuff. And I have never been in a situation like that. I was like, I don't know what to do. And it wasn't until actually probably 2 or 3 years ago I realized all the girls there were trying to help me through a PTSD trigger. So as soon as I put on lingerie and as soon as I got the camera on me, my face went just deer in headlights. And they kept telling me, oh, make your eyes a little bit softer, like use that like flirty. And I was like, so all of the photos turned out with a deer in the headlights look. I looked amazing, thanks to Sam. I actually borrowed your army pants because that was the outfit. That was the outfit where I had the army pants and the army belt as a bra. And doing all this stuff with like random girls that you've never really met before can be really intimidating. But Sam just really helped me calm down at that. She kept telling me I was beautiful and, I like all these things. And I don't know, Sam's always kind of boosted my confidence. whenever we're around. So yeah, that's how we met.
I always try to do my best. What?
Because after the military, we flew to different places. Like she was still in Korea and I was in Colorado, and I think it was like a year before we got to see each other again. And like as soon as we made it to the United States, I started, getting new friends and getting a new circle. And I just always thought it was cool that no matter how many new friends I had, the one thing that I always thought was, man, I can't wait for this new friend to meet Sam. Like all my friends have to meet this friend. And then, let's see, after Colorado, I think we've gone through 2 husbands, a couple of different changes and moves. Like I don't even know all the places you've been to since we left Colorado.
Too many.
Yeah, like they moved around so many times. I think we've seen each other once since then in the last like 5 or 6 years.
Well, what I find particularly comforting for me is that I can always call you. Even if we haven't spoken in like months or years or whatever, I always know that we can land on the same place. We always know each other. So to me, your friendship is to my heart.
And
I think that's an important thing to understand with long distance friendships is you have to understand that that person is still the same person.
yeah. Yeah, and you really hit the nail on the head there. It's a trust. It's knowing that no matter what, we can be at odds. You and I can actually be pissed off at each other and be like, whatever we want to feel. But if you call me crying, I'm picking up the phone, and I know no matter what, if I have no one else to call, I've got Sam to call. Like no question about it. It's like I can always call Sam, and if she doesn't pick up right then, the next time she sees her phone and she sees that I've called, she's gonna message me. We can go, I think the longest we've gone without talking is like 2 or 3 years. And then we just pick up the phone and text each other and like, hey, what's up? How is life? like we never even stopped.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the important part for me.
Good. But yeah, that
I would just describe that as a unconditional loving relationship. A friend, incredible friendship. What I would ask is where did that come from? How did you get that? That's such a strong bond and such a strong trust.
For me, I don't know what it was for Sam, and I hope I'm not overstepping any boundaries here. But one day Sam showed up to my apartment, and I had given her the code to my house, so it was like the key to my house. She could literally walk in at any point. And she came over and she just sat at my kitchen table and she just burst into tears, just cried her heart out, and then she kept apologizing. She was like, I'm sorry you have to deal with this. I'm sorry I'm a mess. And I was, at that moment, I was just like, I can't believe that you trust me enough to come over and cry at my kitchen table. I feel honored as a friend. And I knew that like I just wanted to help her through whatever was going on and just accept her as she was right there, the basket case and all.
Well, because I think for me, it's that unrelenting love regardless. We know each other's misgivings, right? We know the problems that go on, and we still love each other regardless.
And more important, we understand the issues that we bring upon ourselves.
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm.
And we don't hate each other. Like there's a lot of times in a lot of my relationships and friendships, I get caught up in, I know something will help you. And I've done this. I've had numerous occasions where I've had to stop myself from doing this with you, or it's like, I know how to fix your problem. If only you'd listen to me. And that just ruined a lot of relationships for me, where it was like I had to change them And, whenever she comes to me or I come to her and I'm like, give me the real truth. Like, I know that I'm going to get it. Well, that's where it started, was with Sam.
I would say for me, I'm a little bit more of an abrasive of a person, so I did not make it easy. Right. I didn't make it easy.
Yeah. And
when I get into that mode, I push everything away. Everything. Everyone, I want everyone gone, just away from me. And Sam was still there for me, even when I was pushing people away. I would do all the worst things in the world, and Sam was still there for me. She still understood where I was coming from.
I think that might be ultimately where it came from, is, when she let down those walls and trusted me enough to like show me the really, really vulnerable, the I'm messed up, I'm having problems, I don't know what to do. I understood that. I related so much. It was like watching myself, and I just knew I had to help. I was like, I have to help this situation. I can't call myself a friend and not help. And so that's why, like, I think Sam really taught me what it's like to be a real friend when it comes to like other women, because I'd never really had a friendship where that had happened. Usually when people tried to push me away, it was much more malicious. Like, Sam likes to talk down on herself and be like, I was a horrible person. And, you made a lot of mistakes for sure, but so did I. But her version of pushing people away is just to be loud and abrasive, not actually mean. So that was really nothing. I was just like, oh, you're loud and abrasive. Cool. You're just going to say what you have to say loud and abrasively. I know how that is.
Well, I was also one of the only people that could understand Kurt.
Yeah, for sure. And that's also it's kind of a requirement for my friends. All of my best friends know how to not take Kurt personally, because Kurt's a very abrasive and blunt person, and that's one of the reasons I am with him, because I need people who are not going to whitewash things or, make it less than or try to work around a tough topic. I'd rather have someone tell me the blunt truth as much as it hurts, and then stay there and work with me through it. And there were not a lot of my girlfriends who could do that, to be honest, who could just handle it.
I can honestly say, Sam, that you being there for me in one of my hardest of times was more than anyone has given me.
Aw.
You were there.
So Sam, explain that a little bit. Like what were you feeling like in those situations when you're kind of in a kind of vulnerable spot? The fact that you can talk in that way, what does that feel like for you? And because I think people could really learn something important here from this relationship, and certainly what you're expressing. But in those hard moments, what are the things that were the most important?
Okay.
You muted yourself on accident.
Here's the most
There
important.
you go.
I would say when we were in Korea, we just had each other to lean on. But when it came back to the United States, and Sam knows, when I was losing it with my ex-husband, yeah, a lot of bad shit happened, and I did not know where to go, who to talk to, who I thought I could call or, be there for me. I didn't know if anyone was going to be, but Sam was. She was there for me. Initially, not so much because she didn't know the whole story yet. It's a whole
I
thing.
got duped.
You got duped. And yeah, Yeah. It was really terrible. And when she found out that my ex-husband, he was trying to kill me, she kind of like turned turned to be able to talk to me to see what was going on and be there as a friend because I had no one else to turn to.
And of course that taught me a really important lesson because I was ashamed of myself. I was like, how could I have ever possibly have gotten duped? How could I have believed? And I'll give a what's the word, short version. There was some bad shit that had happened, and it got blamed on her. Like she started it, and um, coming from the results of what actually happened, it was very, very well set up for everyone around to believe this. And yeah, so, but I mean, even then, even at that moment, I was like, all right, maybe this happens. Maybe she is the one to blame, which of course I found out later was not the truth. Um, Even then, I was like, well, I need to still be a friend. Like I still have to be kind of a friend. And I went and checked on her daughter. Like I went straight to their house. And the moment I showed up to the house, I realized that something was off. That I felt like I was being lied to and there was something else going on. And I'm really glad that I did that. I'm glad that, I had such a good relationship with Sam that she allowed me to babysit her daughter on numerous, numerous occasions. I think Vega probably spent as much time at our house as she probably spent at y'all's house. Like she was there all the time.
We were best friends, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Well, I feel like
immediately.
my problem here, well, it's not a problem. It's actually a good thing. But the fact is that we knew each other well enough that I could let you know into these terrible, sad, bad times of my life that were not great, but still include you in them because I love you and I believe in you. And I think that regardless of all of the stupid things going on, you will still understand the truth. I never once tried to like get you to come to like my side or his side
No.
or right.
And in fact, it almost seemed as if you were like taking a step back and you were like, you can go ahead to the other side. It's okay. I understand. Like you were like, I'm definitely not trying to get anyone on my side. I don't expect anyone on my side. And to me, that actually was more telling of the situation than someone who was like, oh yeah, come to my side. Let me tell you my side of the story and try to convince you. That's one of the things I've always liked about Sam is we don't have to be the same. In fact, we don't want to be the same. We want to be very different because we have way more interesting conversations.
We learn things from each other.
Yeah.
So I would say our friendship, especially right now, considering distance, we're really good at, thank goodness we have stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
We have stuff to keep in touch. But even if that wasn't there, I would still show up to your doorstep tomorrow and you would still be my best friend.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Same with you. You could show up to my doorstep tomorrow and it'd be like, girl, I'm tired, but come on in.
Exactly. I mean, there's not very many people that I've literally just shared my bed with, and Sam is one of them. She has.
I have. Yeah.
I have done that too. That I did that actually the first 3 weeks. I met Sam. We did the boudoir photo shoot. I think 3 weeks later, I went and hung out with her until like 3 o'clock in the morning at her house. And I actually left my jacket there that had our jump drives. On those jump drives were every single document about me. Like my social security card, all the military paperwork, my birth certificates, marriage license. Like she could have stolen my identity easily. And well, I didn't know. I didn't know this girl. I literally spent one day with her doing a photo shoot and then one evening hanging out with her. I call her the next day and come to find out she's in Guam. So
Oh,
she's not even there. So I was like, oh my God, all of my stuff is just sitting. But it was kind of one of those things where I was like, she didn't do anything.
okay, didn't I give you the code to my apartment?
Yeah, I think you did. I think she gave me the code to her apartment while she was gone in a foreign country. And I just went and got my stuff. And I was like, wow, this is what trust I could have. See, the only thing I ever did was, I think it was probably a month after that, she texted me and she was like, I'm sorry, I can't hang out. The entire house is just vomiting tonight. Like, we're all sick. And I was over there in 10 minutes with soup. And I remember, like, she was just laying on the bathroom floor. She just stuck her hand out of the bathroom. She's like, thank you, Sam. You're a really good friend.
Soup over here.
I think that was like the basis of a lot of our friendship, where like the times when you don't want to call someone else, like, are you really going to call your friend to be like, hey, I'm vomiting. Will you bring me soup? Like, a lot of people want the friendship, kind of like a friendship like that, but not a lot of people are willing just to pick up the phone and say, I need help.
I think a lot of the times what it's boiling down to is people want the good but not the bad. Where I think that you and I have gotten to the getting through the bad together quite a few times.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be amazing and good. It's like the same thing with the family, you know. That's your family. Sometimes it's not ideal, right? So I would hope that people would treat their good friends the same way. That's my family. Like, that's my family right there. I would hope that they get taken care of the same way I would take care of my family.
Yeah.
And not leave someone to the wayside.
Well,
And I feel like that's.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the fact that you guys are together still, that's all those different opportunities that you had where there was tough times and things, appeared to be difficult. The people, a lot of people would have walked away from that, but this is the reward for not walking away, is essentially having a lifetime friendship with somebody that understands a great deal about you and can be a helping hand at the most trying moment. That's certainly one of the things that investment in each other that you have is paying off and will continue to pay off for the rest of your lives.
Well, it was not without work.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it took work. It also took time. It took being separated. And when you're frustrated with someone, it's always good to take a break, and to walk away for a little bit. But with certain people, there's always a reason to come back. And I've never really understood what that reason is, but it's the reason that when I see her, name pop on my phone, I want to call back, because I'm just like, I just can't leave it at it, as it is. Like, it's just, I have to come back.
well, we're friends.
I feel like
we're friends forever.
Yes, I feel like we became a very essential part of each other's lives in Korea. I think we were so far away from everyone. I was in my first year of marriage. I was very young and in a foreign country. And then I see Sam, who at the time I thought had all the confidence in the fucking world. And I don't even know what exactly I fulfilled for her, but she definitely fulfilled this like older sister vibe for me. And not like a, older big sister, but it's like, that sister that's like a year or two older than you and still wants to like hang out with you and be your friend, but also like teach you things. I can't tell you how many times she dragged me out to go do stuff, like climb up mountains and just all sorts of crazy shit that I never, like, I always wanted to do, but I never had the energy to actually do. And the only reason I did it was because Sam was in my house saying, let's go. Yeah, I did a lot of things in Korea that I probably never would have done had it not been for Sam.
So Sam, from your perspective, what was that like? What was your situation? She was in her first year of her marriage. They're essentially newlyweds in the military. What was your situation?
I was.
Well, I was kind of newlywed too, but I was also in the military myself. So it wasn't the same space that she was in, you know?
That's one of the reasons I felt like I kind of latched on to, because almost all of the Korean language I learned came from Sam. Because
Yeah.
she made an effort to go out and talk to people and say, oh, this means this and this means this. And, she almost had this like fearless quality to her where she was like, I'm just going to go adventure this new world. She is the only person from the United States that I have ever allowed to drive me around South Korea. And I thought I was going to die at that point. Sorry.
Why was that? Oh, because she's that good of a driver?
Well, in Korea, I just remember we were moving some stuff off post, and I was sitting in the floorboard of the back seat of her car. So and I didn't know anyone there who drove. Like, everyone took taxis. And what? Oh, off the military post. We were moving something off of the military post, and Sam decided to drive home, which was only like a 10-minute drive.
Not even.
It was to your new apartment, the one that you moved away from me.
Jihang, New City?
Yeah, Jihang.
Okay, yeah, that's what yeah, okay.
But I remember her going through an intersection, and as soon as we got in the middle of the intersection, it turned red. Or not even when we got to the middle of it. I think it turned red as we like hit the intersection. And then all the other cars just started moving. And the only thing I remember Sam saying was, geez, I swear the yellow lights last longer in the United States. And I was like, you're not helping my anxiety. I'm sitting in the floorboard of your back seat. This is not okay for me.
I probably wasn't.
It wasn't at all. In fact, there were numerous occasions where we almost got into so much trouble. Sam is the only person that because I have a tendency to like alcohol a little bit too much, especially when I was 21 in Korea, where the drinking age is 18. I just turned 21, so I was just drinking my fill. And my husband was not particularly comfortable with me just going out, which I understand. I was in a foreign country. The place that we went to drink, the Ville, was not really that safe. But then all I had to say was, I'm going with Sam. And have fun. See you when
us going out.
What? Say that again.
I said, did you tell them about us going out?
The time you threw me into the bar stools?
Yep.
No, I have not. So yes. Sam's fearlessness and just willingness to argue with anybody really empowered me. I loved it about her, even though sometimes I was like, man, maybe you should keep your mouth shut sometimes. I love you, but it gets us into trouble sometimes. But it got me in the habit of not cowing down when I know something is not necessarily my responsibility to like obey. So we went out drinking in the place called the Ville.
Sorry, hang on a second. 1 second. Can the people hear me now? Please respond. Audience, thank you. Go on.
Okay. So we were out drinking. I think it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. So the military had a curfew to where you had to be on post by, I think it was midnight or something. And we were out till 3 o'clock in the morning. So the military police started scouting out the Ville where everyone was drinking. And I don't know how you got out of that, Sam. I don't remember. I think they tried to talk to you because they came into the bar we were at. We were the only people there. We were drunk as shit, dancing. Sam tried to spin me and threw me into the bar stools because I was so drunk that I just let go of her hand and I just fell directly into the bar stools. So that's probably why the MPs were asking us for our IDs and our, who's our sponsor. And I just looked at this MP drunk as shit, and I channeled my inner Sam. I was like, I have to act like Sam right now. And yep, I was just like, I'm not here through the military. You don't need to know who my sponsor is. I'm not in the military. You can leave me alone now. And they did. And I was like, oh my God, that worked. It worked.
Well, I would say, as far as our friendship goes, we always had each other's backs.
Yeah.
No matter where we were going. Up in a mountain, up in the Ville, we always were taking care of each other. Right?
Yeah. And I think we even took turns on that. Like, if I could see that you were getting a little bit too drunk, I'd ease up on my drinking. If you could see that I was getting a little too drunk, you'd ease up on, we'd kind of like match each other, because we were very, she was my best friend in Korea. I was like, you're all I've got. Like, I've got my husband and I've got Sam. So I always had to make sure, like, everything was good. And I don't know, I always felt like I was a little lacking, and I always tried to overcompensate because Sam was always bigger and stronger than me. So, and she also had combatives lessons, and I had not. So I always felt like I was the one trying to be like, don't touch my friend! But I'm like the tiny little one that's like, I'll fight you!
So, by the way, thank you very much, listeners, for alerting me to the fact that my microphone was messed up. We had some technical issues earlier today, and that was one of the fallouts. And Heather, thank you very much for the compliment on the necklace. But the compliment actually goes to Willow, who made this necklace, not to me, who's wearing it. So
actually, I did not make the necklace. All the braided work, all the string and everything, that was made by an old roommate, Devin Fritz. He is amazing at doing the braided work. But I contributed the stone. And since both of us had gotten sessions and some therapeutic work from Agnieszka, I presented that to her as a payment.
Nice.
When I met her, so.
I love it. My favorite kind of payment.
I don't know. I think me. I miss her.
I know. Say, when was the last time we saw each other? It was in Colorado, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was where you worked. You worked at that arcade place. I remember how jealous I felt, because it was really weird to walk into her workplace and have all of her friends come up to her and be like, oh my gosh, Sam, we miss you so much. And I'm just like, she's mine. She's my friend.
So hang on,
Leave
but
her alone.
this is supposed to be like a teaching moment. Oh, Shambhavi, I'm sorry I haven't called you yet. I will. Guilt.
Well, that was a teaching moment for me, because...
Oh, no, I have a question. So, because the episode is about when the going gets tough. So you guys talked really nicely about how you support each other when the going gets tough, and how... But what is the key to surviving such a long-term relationship? Because you met when you were practically a child, and you're practically an adult now. So that's like 10 years, right?
Yeah. Well, I'd say, like, it takes a lot of maturity. And of course, I'm going to circle back to what I was thinking earlier, because I think that it fits up. But, so there was a point where Sam had messaged me, when I met Sam had a best friend. And her best friend is named Fox. And I was super jealous of this best friend. I was like, no, I know that you've been friends since childhood, but I want to be the best friend. And I'd never met this friend. I'd never talked to her. And then she texted me one day, this friend. Fox messaged me on Facebook. She goes, hey, I know you're really good friends with Sam. I'm Fox. I'm like, I know who you are. She goes, Sam's in jail. And immediately, all of my animosity, even the little bit of animosity that was there, was like, gone. I'm like, all right. Best friends must help friends. Where's her daughter? What happened? Like, I was like, now you're my friend, because we have to go and handle this. I think her dad texted me. Her dad called me and was like, where's my granddaughter? And I was like, sir, she's right here. And he was like, I don't know you, no offense. And I'm like, I completely understand, no problem. But it was like, as soon as I realized something was wrong and she needed help, it didn't matter how I felt about it. It was, they need help. They're in a situation that they need help, and I need to set aside any disagreements that I have that don't have anything to do with this. And I think that's what helps, to be honest.
I had a lot of clearly emotions when this happened. I did not like that situation one bit. And to know that I could still call you as my friend, even if it was confusing, that you would still be there, you know, for my kid. That was everything.
I'm glad.
No matter what I'm going through, at least you're there for my kid. And you knew her very well.
Yes.
So, from the bottom of my heart, you are just, I'm going to cry.
I love you too. I love you too. That's all you have to say. I love you too.
Yep. You're so amazing.
I'm really not. I'm really not. I just like you. And I can't seem to quit you. So.
You're pretty amazing to me. So, you know.
What you saying?
I think there's just a willingness between both of us to, I don't know, I think we just both recognize that despite anything else, we are good people. You know, Sam's a good person. I'm a good person. We both fuck up sometimes. We're both bad friends at times. We're both amazing friends at times. Like,
we're human.
We just accept that's how it is. And if we have a problem with each other, we take one of two routes. We either don't talk to each other for a while and get the fuck over it, or we wait a little while and we figure it out. And I don't think there's ever been a conversation, like we've had some really hard conversations where it's like, you know, I don't agree with what you're doing. I mean, and I won't go into details about the specifics of the situation, but there was one time where Sam was she was thinking about doing something that I morally, I couldn't advocate for or get behind. And I told her, I said,
we disagree.
I love you to death. And I don't agree with you doing this. I don't think it's the right decision. I think it's a bad decision. And I think you might be stupid for making it. I still love you. And I will be there if that's the decision that you want to make. And I'll be there when you're dealing with the fallout of that decision, because I'm just willing to be there. And I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to condone your actions to love you.
I think that's maybe the thing they want to take away from this whole situation is you can love someone and not agree with them. You can still love someone and figure out stuff with them, right? You can love someone and not agree with the fact that they're doing something that you do not agree with.
The problem is, it's so much harder. It's not the easy way out. The easy way out is walking away. That's easier because eventually you forget about it. It doesn't matter anymore and you don't have to deal with it. It's so much harder to deal with it and say, I disagree, but I also care about you enough to still be in your life and disagree with you and sit with that disappointment or that disagreement. And I know there's plenty of times that you've been disappointed in me. So we've both had our share.
Disappointed in me.
You know, that's interesting.
To be honest, if we weren't disappointed with each other, we had no expectations for each other in the first place, which is not grounds for a good relationship.
So that's interesting because
I like constantly being challenged. Oh,
hello, child.
Hi, Nova. This one was born after we went our separate ways, so I haven't got to be a part of this one's life like I was the other one, but Jesus Christ, she looks just like you.
Jesus Christ. Great. Thank
Sorry.
you.
I never claimed to be a good influence on your children, Sam.
It's okay. Look at this little squishy squash.
I know.
So hang on a second. I have a legit question, you guys. So with the friends that don't agree, right? We've talked about this before a little bit, and our society is not really geared to people having like disagreements, right? Pretty much society, the society that we live in is very polarizing. So if you're an environmentalist and an anti-environment, you can't be friends. And if you're like a science person versus like a magic person, you can't be friends. You know what I mean? All of these polarizations, all of these separations and things to spread people apart and make them basically lonely, sad individuals. How do you guys make sure that even though you disagree, you still continue to really have a strong relationship?
Respect.
I was gonna say I don't know.
Well, I was
I
gonna
like
say
your answer better.
respect, respect your the way that you come at stuff. I respect it 100%, and I will respect your ideas. I may disagree with them, but that doesn't mean I have any less respect.
Yeah, I like that answer. I'm reminded of and Agnieszka and Mike will understand what I'm talking about. But the episode that we had with Roz when she was talking about her son, and she said that the commitment part of it doesn't feel like, oh, you just committed. It's not a conscious decision. It just is. It's already there. I've already made the commitment to be friends, and it's just it's kind of like letting your expectations grow with the relationship. You know, before when we were living in Korea, I expected Sam to text me every couple of days and be like, "You want to hang out?" Because that's what was there. And that change, like when we moved, when she was in Korea and I was in the United States, we're 13 hours apart. So it's the same thing as like me talking to Deirdre. Like at 9 o'clock in the morning here, it's 9 o'clock or it's 10 o'clock at night there. We don't have time. Sam's got 2 kids. I've got my own shit. Like we have our stuff that we go weeks and months and years without talking, and then as soon as we're needed, the expectation has grown to where if you need me, I'm here.
I would say on the friendship level, we know that we can get in touch with each other and we love each other enough, right? So we're still there for each other. Doesn't matter. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I want to know what Michael thinks. He's been suspiciously quiet today. I'm not sure what he's brewing.
Well, I guess I've been on this thing for a while with the vision is really unnatural, and our natural state is really collaborative, and this is really it's unfortunate that this is such a unique relationship that you guys are so supportive, but it's so unique in the society that we have that that so many people are falling victim to the divide and conquer that's going on in every way and shape and form, that people don't respect each other enough. But certainly this is, to me, this is this is the way back. This is the opportunity to change, that perception from, the standard is to just screw them. They don't believe the way I do. They don't do it the way I want them to do it. There's all kinds of ways that we could judge other people. But
Well,
when
I think, like you're saying, there is something to be learned about understanding someone who doesn't agree with you necessarily. You want to know, right? You want to know what's happening, why someone's opposing, what the problem is. You want to understand that thing. So for us, we may not necessarily agree on everything, but we're still friends. There's no problem there.
So, like in that situation that Sam mentioned, she said that you guys didn't disagree. Was there or you did disagree, and she was supportive? Can you tell me a little bit more about what happened in that situation? Did it help you that she had this other point of view? Did that give you more insight into making a better decision, or like as that experience was happening, make different choices?
I don't know, Sam, do you have a beginning on this one?
I can only tell from my my outside observation, because I can't speak for Sam, but I feel like the decision wasn't really like the outcome of the decision had nothing to do with what I felt, nor should it have. It was not a decision that involved me in any way, shape, or form, except for the fact that I feel like that decision would have negatively affected my friend. Um, but I feel as if having someone disagree, but also be willing to support, it's kind of like I imagine it's similar to if you have a child who wants to eat a whole bag of chocolate and they are bound and determined they're going to eat that whole bag of chocolate, and you've tried to talk them out of it, you've tried to tell them this is going to end up badly, you're going to have a stomach ache, but the real love is saying, okay, you ate the whole bag of chocolate, I'm going to be here to help clean up all the vomit, I'm going to give you some ginger ale to help with your stomach, and I'm going to not punish you more than you are being punished right now. I'm going to be here to help you get through the natural consequences of your decision. And that's something that a lot of people just don't know how to do because they want to stop that from happening in the first place. And then they want to blame the person responsible because if you make the actions, like it's super easy to blame the child and be like, well, I told you not to eat that whole bag of chocolate. If you had just listened to me, none of this would happen. That's not helping the situation. You're just making them feel worse than they already are, instead of just, saying, hey, I'm going to help you with the aftermath of this. And I'm also going to remind you of where this came from.
Well, I would like to say to your friends who are doing this, it's important to be able to put yourself in a mentality where you can see the other end of something. You're seeing someone else's
Perspective.
perspective. Thank you. And you have to think about that because it's very important. A lot of the time, it's not exactly like in your frame of mind. It may not be, but to look at that, it may be a good idea.
But what if that perspective is like totally against who you are? Like, what if you hate cheese and they love cheese? Like,
at that point, you have to have the
that?
courage to say, we don't agree on this, that there's been cases there, like this instance that I was talking to you about, like I could not, it was not in my it was immoral to me. For me to do the action would have been immoral. And so I conveyed that that's how I felt. But I was also willing to help her through the aftermath of that decision if it were. I said the same thing when there was one time where you were hanging out or you were messaging your ex and he wanted to hang out at Starbucks. And I told you, I remember looking dead in your face and saying, you are stupid for going to this.
You are totally right too.
Tell me when you're going and I will be there. And I did. I went there. I was furious the entire time. I listened to everything that Sam wanted me to do. She wanted me to sit outside so she could talk. Whenever I noticed she was getting antsy, I messaged her and said, hey, do you want to come out and have a cigarette? He came out there with us and I was like, no, we are not talking about any of this bullshit. You can say anything you want. We can talk about the color of the sky, but we're not talking about this right now. This is her break time. And helped her enforce the boundaries, even though at the time, I was like, this is stupid. I don't know why you're coming here.
I know. Guess what? That is a good lesson for a friend. She was there for me.
See, it's interesting that you're helping enforce these boundaries for Sam, Willow, but you're the one who says that that's a challenge for you yourself, is enforcing boundaries.
It's so much easier to do it with other people, for other people. Because you see it clearly. You see it more clearly than you do yourself. And, Sam has done this for me before too, where we've been out at the bar some guy's been fucking hitting on me, you know, and I'm being the, oh, you know, thank you, I really appreciate it, you know, please don't touch me, you know, I'm hanging out with Sam. I can't tell you how many times Sam and I have pretended to be lesbian lovers just to get people to leave me alone.
Sadly,
Like,
that doesn't work from
it doesn't.
experience.
It doesn't.
To a certain point, if I go up there and I'm like, bam, 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 bam. No.
You know, there were times where Sam had to cut in and
That's
be like,
when you-
she's not interested, you're ugly, leave her the fuck alone. And I'm like, oh, I didn't want to say that, but okay.
I did say that.
So she was like your lesbian defender.
Yeah.
I was like, motherfucker, out. But the thing is, our friendship, we didn't even have to say things to each other. You know, we just knew.
Yeah.
When you're going into these things with each other, you don't have to ask someone to do something because they already know.
So can I ask you like a woo question? Did you guys... Sorry, muted myself by accident. When you guys first met, did you guys feel like you already knew each other? That it was like like you're almost
Yes.
like reconnecting as opposed to just meeting for the first time? Was it like,
Yes.
you know, like a karmic connection or something? And I'm not saying like true love, but I'm saying maybe like a past life connection or some kind of a destiny kind of deal.
After those first few minutes, I don't even think we talked for 10 minutes. I was picking up kids from the bus stop. She was picking up her daughter. We saw each other for 10 minutes. She gave me her Facebook name, and I was like, oh, we have the same name. That's so cool. And from that point on, I was bound and determined that this girl was going to be my friend. Like, we were just going to be friends, and it never really, I kept waiting for the moment where we were going to be like, no, I'm done. Like, you're too much. Like, I kept waiting for both of us just to be like, nah, I'm good. But it never happened. Anytime anytime I start feeling like that, when I see your name on my phone, like through my friends list, and it's all the way at the bottom, and I'm like, dude, we haven't talked in like 3 years. Are we still even friends? Within the next couple of days, she's texting me. Or I'm texting her, and it's like, oh, yeah, hey, what's up?
It doesn't matter how long you're away from me. We're friends.
Yeah.
So there's also a telepathic connection, is what you're telling me, where you're thinking about her and then she texts you in a couple days.
That has happened numerous times.
Interesting.
We just got this connection.
You know, this is about the artistry of loving relationships. And I would like to, you know, because this is one of the things that irks me about the word love, you know, is because it is so there's so many misconceptions about the word love. How would you describe the loving relationship, the love that you have for each other? Could you give our audience some understanding of what that is?
Love for me, there's definitely multifacets, right? Different kinds of love. I love Sam because she is a person that belongs in my life. So we love each other. It's not a romantic love. I don't want to have sex with her. It's not part of the thing, but we just love each other. We have a, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Acceptance.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at, is that there's that word has been so blended into other things that it's like a taboo to use it for different, you know, for genuine loving relationships.
I think it's because a lot of people don't recognize what it is. You know, until we started doing this show, I never once thought of my relationship with Sam as like, oh, the epitome of a love, or not the epitome, but a great example of what a loving relationship is. It wasn't until like I actually started thinking about it where I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of what we have. We have just a loving relationship. Like, no matter where she is, what she's doing, what mistakes or great things she's doing, like, I still love Sam. Sam's awesome.
And this series has been going on for a few weeks, like 3 or 4 weeks now, that we've been doing the episodes on loving relationships. And so every time we do one, our understanding of loving relationships and what it means deepens, right?
I think I keep wanting to come back to this point because I'm pretty sure Sam knows this because I made it very, very apparent. But I used to have a huge crush on Sam. And I told her, I was very blatant about it. And there was never a point of time where she made that uncomfortable or made it to where like I couldn't feel that way. And I was like, you're amazing. Like, it's so hard to have a relationship with someone when one person has feelings and the other person doesn't. And so that was an interesting dynamic of our friendship, was that I could have my feelings and she didn't have to return them, but I was still allowed to have my feelings and I was still allowed to say it and vocalize it, and I was never shamed for it. And I don't know, it changed our relationship, but never for the worse. It always made it better.
Never made me feel bad.
Yeah.
Or feel bad that I owed you something more than,
Yeah. More than what you were willing to give.
And I told you quite clearly, I'm not going to do this with you, but friends. Right?
I know, I heard that many times. It was sad.
Oh.
But see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, we can literally joke about it. Like, it's not a big deal. I can't tell you how many times I was trying to make her feel better because they were going, or her and her now ex-husband were going through divorce court, and she was really upset. She was like, he's bringing his girlfriend to the divorce thing, like to the courthouse. And I was like, that's okay, honey. He can bring his girlfriend, you bring yours. And it just made her smile. I didn't even say it to try and be like, oh, get with me. It was I'm just trying to make you smile. And that seems funny to me. And it always made her feel like I just tried to make her feel better. So I loved that we can joke about sensitive shit. Like, we never, like, there has not ever been a time where we've said, and we have some really dark humor between the two of us. When we get alone.
I have to say, for your friends here, as far as keeping in touch with each other, technology has been our friend.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what we would have done. Letters?
We can have our friends here. Otherwise, we probably would have been like scraping up, trying to mail each other or something.
Yeah, we would be mailing each other letters.
Girl,
if they ever turn the internet off, where we're writing letters.
Right. See, she's right.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm old enough that's how we communicated when I was in the Army. You had to write letters.
I was in the Army too.
Awesome.
I'm gonna ask.
That was another huge dynamic change, because my husband got out of the military and he became an anarchist, and now he advocates against the military. It's immoral, like going and killing other people. And Sam and I have had these conversations before while she was still in the military.
Many times.
And many times. And I wouldn't say that the conversations ever got ugly, but they definitely got, like tense, where it's heated, where it's like, I am so mad at you, because we have different opinions. And I think, honestly, the biggest thing that has propelled our friendship is we're just willing to accept each other as they are in that day. And not accept as in, like, I never expect you to change or I never expect you to grow. It's just, this is who you are today. And I can disagree with it and still deeply care for you and want the best.
I also like the understanding each other.
Yeah.
We get where each other are coming from, so we can actually like come to an understanding without having to debase each other constantly.
And we also have the wherewithal. We have the wherewithal to say, I don't understand where you're coming from, but I get that that's how you feel right now.
And that's totally fine. That's a really good thing to know.
Yeah. Because it's very damaging. A lot of people who get each other on one level try to get each other on every other single level. And the thing is, I'm not going to get you on every other single level. I'm going to get you on the levels that I resonate with. So those have to be strong enough to withstand, give you the courage to say, you know what, I don't understand where you're coming from. I don't get it. But I'm willing to sit here and talk to you about it until never in our relationship has it ever gotten to the point where one of us felt the need to cut each other out of our lives permanently. It's never ever gotten to that point. I've never felt that threatened. I've never felt like any of your ideas or the things that you do with your life, I might disagree with them and find them, like, if you were trying to force them onto my life, that'd be a different story. But you're just doing you, and you're not trying to force everyone else to do the same.
I've never tried to.
Well, I think that's one of the points I think that we could make is that in a lot of cases, and probably like 99.9% of the cases, when people are in conflict with each other, it's about misunderstandings or miscommunications or expectations that are really conflicted, but essentially are kind of set up in that fashion. And that's kind of what we've got as a society these days is something that's generating all these false expectations of each other that's resulting in conflict and division and stuff like that. And so really kind of accepting each other is a way to really see that there really isn't that much that we really have to worry about being in conflict with each other over. There's nothing that we, as long as we respect each other, there's a great deal of learning can be done if we give ourselves that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. I had a thought in my mind, but it just went right out the window.
Agnieszka, do you have anything on that? What do you think?
I was just watching Sam being mom.
Gotta get that laundry done.
That little one running around. Oh. Nice.
That was something else that I thought about with our relationship is when we disagree with each other or we have to give some hard, tough love kind of advice or, say we disagree, we don't just blurt it out. We're not just like, hey, I think you're stupid for doing that. But we take care to try and be kind in those moments and make sure that the other one knows that this might be hard information for you to take. And my intention is never to cause you any discomfort or pain, but I'm also not willing, just like, this is the same lesson that Sam kind of taught me when she dragged me out to climb mountains and shit. Other people, I'd be so pissed off if you woke me up at 9 o'clock in the morning and told me to go climb a mountain. Like,
Totally did.
But there were so many times where I'm just like, fine, I know this is going to be uncomfortable, but I know that she's not trying to make me uncomfortable. She's trying, and she told me numerous times where like, you're lazy. You need to get out of bed.
What was it about climbing mountains, Sam, that you just had to do it with Willow?
Yeah, why did you drag me around to all those places?
First of all, the mountains are really nice to climb. There are also a lot of prayer sites I thought were pretty interesting. And then also just the climbing part. Doing some workout.
I think she liked being a cheerleader. Because every time I didn't even make it halfway up the mountain. And I turned around and I was like, are we done? And she's like, oh no, honey, we haven't even gotten to the actual climb.
Like to the beginning of it.
I was like, I want to go home. I want to go home now.
I got Sean to do it.
And did you go home?
I know. I did after that.
Mm-hmm.
That was also, I think I texted you the next morning because I babysat a child that night who would not stop screaming unless I walked the floor with her. So my feet were so sore. I was so mad at Sam. I was like, why did you make me go up this mountain? My feet hurt so much. All I want to do is sit down. But every time I sit down, this child starts screaming bloody murder. I about called her and was like, come over and take care of this child right now.
Okay. Well, here it goes. You had to go climb.
Why?
You're in Korea.
Fair enough.
What else chance do you have?
Also, with food, I can't tell you how many things, like, she dragged me over to, like, what was it, the new market in Uijeonbu?
Yeah.
And she'd be like, try this food. And it'd be like a pot sticker stuffed with clear noodles. And I was like, what is this? What is this? Like, I was such a picky eater. Oh man, food choices. I can't tell you how many times, like,
for your friends, that's the give and take of a friendship. I made you do stuff that you didn't like.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't know that you didn't like it, or you did like it. And that was kind of the thing, is like creating that opportunity where you got an opportunity to learn something. This is a beautiful, I love this example, because this is really something very important. And that is like being able to kind of create the motivation to do something that otherwise you wouldn't have done. That's a beautiful thing.
I never would have tried half the foods that I have had it not been for Sam. One of my favorite stories about Sam and how weird she is and how weird her offspring are is because I was watching Vega one day, her oldest daughter, and I was like, hey, do you want like some chocolate milk and like a donut or some cookies, stuff? And this child walks up to me with the most adult sounding voice and goes, no, could you find me some seaweed to snack on, please? I didn't know what to do. I literally called Sam. I was like, your child is fucking weird. It wants seafood, like seaweed, over cookies. And she's like, yeah, that's totally normal for my daughter. I'm like, why? What kid doesn't want chocolate milk and cookies? Food choices between me and Sam were completely different. I think still to this day, we have not found a glass of wine except for sangria or beer that both of us like. And we still try. Every time we meet up, we bring each other alcohol, and we don't like each other's alcohol. So we end up drinking our own alcohol together.
No, we don't like it.
We try it every single time. Every beer she presents towards me, I try it, even though I know I hate beer.
So as far as your friend is concerned right now with maintaining our friendship, I think the one really cool thing is right now, it's really easy to have friendships on the internet. Right?
It makes it easier to stay in contact. So when you need to get a hold of someone, you know that you can.
Third, girl, you have to help me with this homeschooling because I might lose my mind.
I am so down to help you.
Seriously. Oh my God.
I love these conversations too because I don't have children at all. Yet I have a friend who's willing to come and ask me for advice and like trust me enough to like we have conversation. I can't tell you how many other friends that I've had where like we'll be talking about kids and I can get the vibe that they're like, but you don't have children, so you don't understand. And I'm like, I maybe don't understand like having a child 24/7, but I understand what it's like to be a child. And I understand children in general because I've spent a lot of time around them. I helped raise my nephew for quite a few years. I babysat the entire time in Korea, and you would be surprised the amount of military people who are willing to drop their kids off with a random stranger for a weekend. It was alarming.
I do not disbelieve
you
that.
saw how many kids were in my house.
I am not a kid.
That was one of our deals was Sam never paid for childcare while they were in Korea because my only payment was you bring me a bottle of wine and I will watch your child. That was our agreement. And it worked.
That could be
She'd bring
really
over a bottle of
dangerous.
wine, her kid. Well, I wouldn't drink it then. I'd save it, I'd usually end up drinking it the next night or, something. But
Okay, what's your friend say?
oh, did Shambhavi comment?
Yeah.
No?
Comments.
No new comments. Not since the ones I read.
Oh.
Not on my end, but maybe it craps out after a while. That's possible. That's happened
Could be.
before.
And I can't see any of the comments. 'cause
We
I don't
only have
it
5
right
more
now.
minutes. What is the wisdom that we can share with the world in the last 5 minutes of the show that would really like shake them to the core?
Okay, so here's the thing that I can impart. Kids are crazy,
Kids,
right?
yeah.
Also, give parents at least a minute or two. Let them have that moment when they're dealing with kids. It's like, boo.
Yeah, part of being a friend is understanding that your friend's children are going to come before you. I don't understand these people who get upset because they're like, oh my gosh, you have to go like take care of your kid. It's like, well, yeah, I wouldn't be friends with you if you were ditching your kid just to hang out with me. That's kind of,
Hang out. It's like normal human being stuff. Yeah.
I'd say my little bit of advice, something that Sam taught me when we were in Korea, we were talking about a previous friend that she had. Her previous friend had been into a bad relationship and told Sam that she couldn't talk to Sam anymore because of this relationship. And Sam had told me her reaction, and she said, what she told her friend was, I understand. I don't agree with you, but I understand that that's what you need to do right now. And whenever, if ever, you get out of that relationship and you need me, I will be here. We don't have to talk until then. And when I heard her say that, I was kind of in awe because I had never seen someone actually do that calmly. And I just thought, like, that's the kind of friend I want to be. I want to be that friend that's like, you got to do you. I don't have to agree. If you ever need me and you want me and my advice, what I have to say, I'll be there.
It's a problem that I have in myself because it's not easy. But I do have that friend where I said, you know what? I cannot sit here and deal with what you're doing. But if you need me, I'll be here. But it really, I'm gonna cry. It really hurts my feelings though.
Oh, of course it does.
Because I didn't want to have to do that.
But also part of being a good friend is setting your own boundaries and knowing what you can and can't take. And real friends are gonna say, okay, you can't handle that. That's fine. You don't have to handle it for me to be your friend.
Well,
Sometimes we have to take a step back and take care of ourselves too.
Yeah. Honestly, Sam, you are my friend to the end of time.
Same here.
Yay!
I still want my dress back, by the way.
Oh, you know what?
I'm holding your robe in ransom. We still have each other's clothes because we traded clothes so often. She still has my little black dress that I wore to all my funerals, and like my little black dress. She has it, but I have her magical wizard robe. So
okay, so let me hear your friend. What he wants to know from this conversation.
I don't know if we have any comments. I don't think anyone's commented yet.
Well, I think she was asking Michael.
Oh.
Well, I would just say that I think there was some really some very interesting high points. I think that I think we could all learn from, and certainly, like I said before, having somebody to push you a little bit to get to do things that you otherwise may not be able to do is kind of like living, and that's one of the things that I think, unfortunately, a lot of people are afraid of dying and afraid of a lot of other things. I had to throw that in there, Agnieszka. But they're afraid of a lot of things, and it's really that opportunity to really confront a lot of fears that are really very irrational. And certainly relationships are one of those things where there's a lot of fears that can pop up that aren't really that scary at all, really. But it's just because of the world and the way things have been perceived in the media and all that kind of stuff. Oh, they're from this country, or that, oh, you're from over there, or oh, you got this color hair, or all the things that we can judge people on,
Well,
and we can
I would
find
say,
out that
I
that
would,
stuff
I
is
would,
baloney.
I would say in closing for myself, Sam's always been an amazing person for me. Like every time I think I'm going crazy, Sam helps me ground it, you know, get somewhere. So it's really good to have a person who is there for you, but is also being realistic, right?
I think, yeah, I think Mike hit on something when he's talking about like there's so much fear. That's something that has never occurred in my relationship with Sam. I've never been afraid of Sam. I've never been afraid of disappointing her or upsetting her or pissing her off or I'm not afraid of it. It it's just not a fear in my mind. So there's no room. Like if I don't text her for 3 months, I don't have this fear that she hates me because we haven't talked in 3 months. It's just like, oh, she's probably busy. Or she's dealing with, if it goes too long and I'm like, I'm getting some weird vibes, I'm feeling kind of weird, or I am starting to feel anxious. Usually Sam's going through some shit and she's isolating. So I text her and I'm like, hey, stop it. Talk to me. Like,
Girl, Sam, I want to call you now.
we'll have plenty of time.
But that's for real though.
Yeah.
It's real if you recognize that stuff, you know? It's good. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Sam understands that about me and her. So as far as being away from each other, we understand each other because we give each other that, what's a good word? Reasonable understanding. Right?
Yeah. Reasonable expectations.
Yeah. We understand when things are happening and we can let that go. Let that happen. Without
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Agree.
We're gonna have to change that title. You know how I feel about the word chemicals. Water's a chemical. Essential oils are chemicals. You have to say toxic chemicals. I'm like, wait. We're gonna get Sam. You're gonna get Sam and I started on a whole different topic, and it's really hard to shut us both up. I could have, but I was camping.
I think it's good.
I was gonna say Sam wants to say something.
this is
Oh, kisses. Mwah.